Well, Calum, episode 50 of the podcast. I don't think we expected to be recording so soon after episode 49.
No, and I didn't expect it to be such a big one either. I was expecting it to be a Dundee United preview. Things changed.
Things changed very quickly for a Monday night. Things got very lively just as we were getting ready to release the review episode from the Hamilton game. And the news officially broke late last night that Derek McInnes' 8 years in charge of Aberdeen has come to an end as he was sacked by the club. Although Scott Burns did say on Twitter it seemed to be by mutual consent, so maybe a bit of understanding that things aren't going right and parting of the ways has come about.
I think that would be sort of a better way to have ended it, I suppose, after so long, a bit more respectful, I suppose.
Yeah, and what was your initial thoughts on McInnes' time at the club and obviously how his tenure's come to an end?
I'm obviously very thankful for everything that he's done, so especially League Cup in 2014, the first trophy I've seen us win in my lifetime, possibly yours as well. Don't know how old I am.
Yeah,
there we go.
Would be.
Sorry to get age in there again.
No, I think, the League Cup that we won with the Coca-Cola bike was man of the match would have been my lifetime, but certainly in my time supporting the club, the League Cup will have been the first trophy and only trophy. So
very thankful for that and for getting us back to where we sort of belong at the top of the table rather than sort of bottom six obscurity. But with the way things have been going lately, and it's been like that for a while now, there's just been no enjoyment, I suppose, in the way the football's gone, which is a sad way of ending it all. Obviously, we'd have liked it to end on a better note, but I think now is just the right time. But thank him for what he's done with the club. There's no doubt he's done a decent job. It's just things have come to an end. They always do.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's outstayed his welcome's probably a bit too strong, but you look back to when Jimmy Caldwood was our manager and a few years back, and maybe he was around a bit longer than was need be, and kind of sours the relationship. And I think that's potentially what's happened in recent months. But I totally agree with your sentiment there that we really have to be thankful for what McInnes has done for the club. When he came in that first few years at the club, restoring the pride, certainly in the support, and getting the club back up, competing at the right end of the table and competing in cup competitions. Obviously runs to the final of the League Cup, which we went on to win. Unfortunately, the Scottish Cup didn't go as well that season. Probably one that he'll look back on with a bit of regret. Obviously, Scottish Cup final in 2017, the huge opportunity that was. And I think, as good as his tenure has been, he will look back at the cup competitions with a tinge of regret, thinking I probably should have won more. And I think Aberdeen fans, once the dust is settled on this departure, will look back at his time in charge with fond memories. I look back at the likes of Groningen away, Rijeka the first time, as fond European memories. But even that start to the season with the 8 wins in a row and just what it was like supporting the club at that time, the feel-good factor around the club and the city. It's just a shame that his tenure's ended in this sort of manner.
I mean, think back to also memories like Aberdeen winning 7-0 at Dens Park. Like, when was the last time before that you saw Aberdeen score 7 goals? It could be a very, very long time ago. A lot of good memories, but they've been sort of hindered with some bad ones recently. So, but we'll take the good times with the bad, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think I think the club will be disappointed how the news was broken last night. Obviously, leaks started appearing on WhatsApp, making their way onto Twitter, and it was quite a shame that it kind of took so long for the club to then officially announce it after the newspaper started breaking the story, because he did probably deserve that recognition from the club first before the kind of public knowledge of it. But the last few months after the vote of confidence, even the last few games, as we touched on in our review of the Hamilton game, it's not been right after the chairman so publicly backing him.
No, it's not. And in a way, it almost just feels like it didn't help, because it sort of feels like it added a little bit more pressure on him. But as you said, over the past few months, things just haven't been good enough. The football's not been great. We've not even been getting results. It is the right time, it's fair to say, but it's just a bit of a messy end.
Is it the right time, though? Are you surprised it's happened now and not the end of the season, as many of us, and certainly us two, kind of suspected it might?
I expected, with the way Aberdeen sort of do things, for it to be at the end of the season, a sort of a summer rebuild. But I think it maybe is now the right time, given the fact they've got this big break before the Dundee United game, 6 league games to go, still got the Scottish Cup to compete for. A chance to redeem the season, essentially, because right now, third is slipping away, and that's to a Hibs team who haven't been very good either, and we're so far behind a Celtic team they've been also been terrible. So I think we've got a chance to go for third, and I think maybe they were thinking if McInnes stays, that might not happen with the way things have been going, unfortunately.
Yeah, and obviously we know the connotations that come with third this season, with the potential of guaranteed European football until Christmas. So that'll be a huge incentive. For the time being, we'll say it's Sheeran, Robson and Neil Simpson in charge for that Dundee United game. Obviously that could change, and like you said, it is a break. The club have come out initially though and said that it will be them until the end of the season. Those with a good memory will know what happened the last time Neil Simpson was involved in the manager's dugout. So hopefully, if he is in charge for Dundee United, that game goes better than the game at Tynecastle. Do you suspect that they will be given till the end of the season, or do you think, given that we do have a near 2-week break until our next game, we will see a new man in charge for the trip to Tannadice?
I think we probably take what they've said at face value. They've maybe said that so they're not, so fans aren't just chomping at the bit expecting someone to come in immediately. I think by saying that, they've given themselves a lot more time to perhaps get that appointment, and to get that appointment right, most importantly, as well. Yeah,
definitely. And it's an interesting time, given the timing of McInnes' departure. Still, like you said, third's there to be won or fought over. Scottish Cup as well, with that resuming, a chance to bring success and silverware back to the club for whoever's in charge now, or a new man in charge. And it is interesting, and I think given the kind of turnover that we're going to be seeing at the end of the season, would you expect maybe to the club to have an idea of who they want to bring in? Because with the amount of players coming out of contract in the summer, it's going to be a huge rebuild for a new man.
They've got to have targets in mind, you would think, before you get rid of the manager. At least, probably they've got a short list of some kind. You think, who is on it? We don't know yet, because there are a lot of names being bandied around. Basically everyone and their gran, including Ross Nicholson. Yeah, Aberdeen fan. I don't know how he made it onto the Sky Bet list, but here we are.
Yeah. That's what happens when you tweet Sky Bet with a name. I think the most amusing part of that story, though, was that Ross Nicholson managed to get installed as 7-1 third favourite last night. Although sadly he has drifted out to 10s. But you never know, he might fancy the hot seat at Pittodrie. But I think the club will definitely have a short list of ideas, and whether or not they've maybe sounded out some of them just now. Given that McInnes has been sacked, I assume that would involve a payoff. So do you think we'd be looking at a manager currently out of work just now, rather than somebody in a job that would involve compensation? I'm thinking the likes of Jim Goodwin, that's just signed a 4-year deal at St Mirren, being the main one that obviously people have naturally assumed as a person in contention for the job.
First of all, I don't think we'd be short of applicants in any way, shape or form, given the sort of prospects of the job and new training ground and all that good stuff. But it would be very Aberdeen for the cheap option. Here's hoping. There's a lot of good managers out of work, though, like we have mentioned previous to recording this. Jim Goodwin was a man that I look at and I think, I wouldn't mind him so much, but given the 4-year deal, I don't think we'll be going in on that. But at the same time, if they think he's the right man for the job, they might go hell for leather. You never know. If that's the man and they believe in him, they trust him, we could see it happen.
Yeah, and obviously former players that have been linked, and I think the obvious link given the Atlanta connection has been Stephen Glass. Derek Adams' names I've seen linked, Stevie Crawford as well, obviously given the job he's done at Dunfermline this season. I'd kind of be intrigued to go out with Scotland. It's a big job. And it's like you said, we shouldn't be short of candidates. Chris Coleman's name's been bandied around. Obviously, a manager currently out of work, did an excellent job with Wales in guiding them at the Euros. We'll know what he's done. Foreign managers, I think it's the Man City youth coach. His name's been bandied around.
Enzo something. I couldn't tell you the last name.
It's Maresca.
Something like that.
I saw folk calling him Mascara and making lots of makeup jokes, which was very amusing. Paulo Di Canio's name's been bandied around for someone that would certainly install a lot of passion.
That would be chaos. It'd be funny. I don't think it would go well, but it would be passion. There'd be some sort of enjoyment for a short time, and then we'd probably realise, oh dear Lord, what have we done? But I think the Chris Coleman shout is a very, very good shout, and we'll go back to one that we've mentioned before on the show, Danny Cowley, the Cowley brothers. That would be another one, perhaps. Those would sort of be, I would strike Coleman and Cowley down as ambitious appointments, even though they would be free. That would be, they're sort of two big name with ambition, and they've got a decent track record too. Yeah,
the likes of your Goodwins and Stephen Robinsons, they're probably your kind of safe bets, but as some have said, maybe kind of similar to your McInnes, but just new ideas. For me, those two, though, have more of a tendency to develop youth, something that we've certainly been kind of wanting to see in the team recently. Just looking ahead to the Dundee United game, obviously assuming that Sheeran, Robson and Simpson are in charge, what sort of reaction are you expecting from the players? Because I remember when we spoke to Steve Tosh in the player interview, he felt that the players had let Steve Patterson down when Steve Patterson left. Do you think some of these players will be feeling let down in their performance, that they've let down McInnes in recent weeks and months?
I think they probably should, in all honesty, given the performances. I know a lot of it does come from the manager, but at the same time, players have got to take their own responsibility at some stage too. I'd say they've got to take some responsibility for that. But I hope to see a response. I would love nothing more for us to play Dundee United, having not scored against them this season, just absolutely blow them out of the water. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm a bit sceptical, especially given, Sheeran and Robson obviously both work very closely with McInnes on the first team too.
Yeah, so they've had quite a lot of involvement. If we do then come out and batter Dundee United, though, I think questions will be asked around the players and where that sort of performance was. Because it doesn't just take 2 weeks to suddenly change everything to become sort of world beaters, based on if we did go and brush Dundee United aside with relative ease. But yeah, looking ahead to next season, currently one keeper signed, one defender signed, no strikers. So it's a rebuild opportunity. And another suggestion I heard, suggestion or idea maybe, was if we got a director of football in and a younger manager or less experienced manager in working under him, I don't know how much that appeals. Gordon Strachan's name's on the list of potential new managers, a name that definitely doesn't excite me, but he's in a director of football role at Dundee currently. Younger names such as Darren Fletcher and Sean Maloney have obviously been bandied about. Would them coming in under a director of football maybe be an option? They're certainly names that I rank as the high-end ambitious names, probably higher than your Cowley and Coleman's.
I would say the ambition's high, but the risk is also way higher, given they've not actually been managers or even head coaches yet of a side. I'm very sceptical about director of football approach, because if the relationship's not 100% right, it can go very, very wrong. I'm thinking Ian Cathro, Craig Levine sort of thing. That's my worry. That example alone is enough to cause me a lot of concern.
Yeah, and Craig Levine also being touted for the manager job also gives me a lot of concern as well.
I will never watch Aberdeen again if he becomes Aberdeen manager. I'm looking forward to enjoying football again, perhaps, if they get their appointment right. That will not be happening if we get Craig Levine.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, we want to get this episode out to kind of place on record our thanks to McInnes. You might not think that given some of our podcasts, but, he has restored pride to the club. He's got us competing at the right end of the table. We have had good memories, some pretty bad ones in there too. But on the whole, it has been a decent tenure. He was the longest serving manager in the league. And now, obviously, that's not the case, but we'll hopefully be back. We will be back for the Dundee United preview, and we'll maybe look into this a bit further, kind of once the dust's settled further, and maybe a few more names have kind of come out the woodwork, or even names have ruled themselves out. But yeah, episode 50, and a very unexpected episode 50. After McInnes' departure from the club.
Didn't expect it to go like this at all, did we? Not one bit. But here we are. Thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget to like on the video, subscribe, follow us wherever you're listening in, and follow us at RTG_podcast on Twitter too.
And leave us your thoughts, wwho you want as manager.
Exactly. What a well-oiled machine we are. Thank you very much for tuning in.